Hey folks, welcome to the Do It Yourself Dad channel. In this video, we're going to be installing the new Eufy wall light camera. We're going to be going over all the features of it, how to install it, the pros and the cons. We're going to test it out thoroughly, show you the resolution daytime, nighttime, how well the detections work, the AI works, and what everybody keeps asking about all my videos is how long detection takes between detection and you getting the alert on your phone. So let's get started. Now I apologize for the background noise. We are doing this right next to my koi pond, so if the sound of that waterfall is making you have to pee, you can pause the video and come right back. So this is the light I'm replacing, and in a previous video where I did a similar install on a security camera that mounted into one of these, I just referred to another video on how to install a light because it was the same. This one's a little bit different, but I actually think it's going to be a little bit easier. So I'm going to show you how to do the entire install step by step. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the different mounting system. Now, normally on a light, you would have some wires that come out of the back, and those would wire nut to the wires in your house. In this situation, you have a mounting plate, and the wires from your house go straight into these connectors. Then this thing snaps into the base and makes contact there. So this should actually make the installation a lot easier because you're not having to deal with holding this up while you're wire nutting everything in. Let's get the install going. Now, as is the case with every other Eufy product, you do the entire installation through your phone, and it's also going to have the step-by-step instructions on how to do it through your phone. So we're going to start by popping up here and adding a new device and scrolling down to the wall light camera. We're going to hit next, and the back of this light should have a barcode on it. We're going to scan that barcode with our phone, and now the app is going to tell us to connect this via USB so we can power it up. So it does have a little USB connector on the back. And since we're outside, we're going to be using our EcoFlow battery to power this thing up. So we're going to flip it over right here. And right here on the back, we're going to pop it open and plug in our camera. Now our camera should have power. And we can actually tell it has power. It's got a little blinking red light right there. So now let's jump back into the app and see what's next. So next we're going to be putting in our Wi-Fi password because this thing connects via Wi-Fi. So take a guess how I got my name while I put in my password. So now it's telling me to press the sync button, and there is a sync button right here on the back of the camera that I need to push. And now my phone is going to generate a QR code that I'm going to show to the camera. I'm not going to show you the QR code because that's got my private info in there. So now that it's connected to the network, it's time to take that thing down and put this up. But first we have to shut off the power. Now in this case, a lot of people are tempted just to hit the power switch if you've got one of those, but that's not the right thing to do. What you don't want to have happen is have your kid come along and decide they want to see dad dance and hit that. So we're going to go hit it from the breaker. So you want to come to your panel and find the corresponding breaker and flip that breaker and then test it to make sure that the power is indeed off. With the power confirmed off, we can start removing the existing lamp. Now this one's put on with thumb screws. In most cases, there will be one or two screws holding whatever you have to the mounting plate. Then you should be able to pull it away from the wall and expose the wire nuts inside. If you've got wire nuts, these things just unscrew off. If you want to check out these cameras for yourself, I will have links down in the description below, as well as any coupon codes I happen to come across if you want to save a few bucks. Mounting plate here that we have to remove. And now with that hardware removed, we're going to come in here and install our mounting plate. Now these wires, you want to give them a little bit of a tug and get them to come out through that hole. And we just line everything back up and reinstall our mounting plate. Now this mounting plate does actually have a little bit of a foam seal around the back of it, which is good, but I think later I may actually beef it up with a little bit more of a foam seal because the hole on mine is a little bit out of skew. So now for the wiring portion. I tried to do this with the camera in one hand and I was fumbling. So what I've got is my black wire is coming right here into my bottom one. You just slip it straight in the side, tighten down that screw. Your white wire, which is your neutral, goes in the middle, and then your ground, which is going to be your copper wire, that's either going to be copper or green, is going to go in that top one. You slide them in the side and just tighten down those screws, and then you're all done with the electrical portion. So now we're going to snap the light in place right here. Once the light is seated, there's little set screws that you put in on either side. That holds the light to the base. And now the most satisfying part of every job, removing the protective film. One thing I did notice with this is you can rotate it, and then the lights actually rotate independently. So I'm going to turn it this way because that's the direction of my patio, but I'm going to turn my lights straight out so it illuminates straight out into my yard. So we're going to do our first set of testing at night because this thing is a light, so you're going to want to see how it performs at night. Now right now I'm being lit only with the light coming from the Eufy. You can see behind me all of my landscape lights are turned off. All my string lights are turned off in the backyard, as well as the lights inside the house. So the only light that's really providing me any light right now is the light behind me, which is the light from Eufy. Now what we're going to do is first I'm going to run through some of the settings so I can show you how I have it set up. Then we're going to show what the video looks like coming from the camera, and we're also going to see how quickly we get a detection on our phone, because if you're using this as a security camera, that speed and that delay is really important. Now just like when we set up the camera initially, all of the settings and changes are going to be done through the app. So we're going to jump into the app here, and we're going to click on the three little bars for our camera, and in we are. So all of our settings are in here. The first thing to look at is this. This is the motion detection, and you can set all of your different AI settings, whether you want it to just push human or all other motion. I have it set just towards human because that's really all I care about as a security camera. And you can also set up activity zones. So what this does is it gives you a live view of what's coming out of the camera. You can see me there waving at you right now. And you can set up the boxes where you want it to detect activity, and you can also set up the boxes where you don't want it to detect activity. So if you don't want it to pick up somebody coming through a gate all the time, or if there's a specific area you don't want detection, you can set that up. Moving out of that, this is where it gets kind of fun, the light settings. So right now, I have it set up, and here this is one of the brighter settings. This is the brightest it goes. What's nice is you have different color temperatures. That's a very pure white. I don't really like that one. I've been going with more of a amber hue, and then you can actually back it off here depending on how bright you want it. Also neat and kind of fun if you're having a party is there are also color settings, so we can change it from any color of the rainbow. And then also further down there's a party mode where it goes between different colors. It's got a warmth mode where it kind of goes between the different warm colors in there. That would be kind of the oranges and the reds and the whites. And this aura, which is more of the blues. Now I have it set to schedule. If you pop over here to schedule, and I have it scheduled here, you can see, to be more of an amber hue and low during when the sun is down. And what it does is it keeps it nice and low, but then it bumps up when you want it to be bright, when you actually have detection of movement. Hopping down into the video settings, you have all the normal video settings you've had on every other one. The watermark, you can turn that on and off. You can turn on and off night vision. Right now I have it turned on, so we're gonna play around with that. You can set up the record settings and everything else in here. So it's really easy to set this whole thing up. And then finally the notification settings. So I have it set up here, so it's gonna notify me when it detects a human. So let's give that a try. So I'm standing here in my very dark side yard, and what we're going to do is we're going to start the stopwatch when I come around the corner and I get into the detection zone, and then we're going to see how long it takes to get the alert on my phone. So here we go. I'm in the detection zone right now. You just saw the light over there get a little brighter, and that is because it detected me. So now we're going to see how long it takes for us to get that notification. So you can see right there, I didn't manage to stop my phone here, but it got it in right around 10 seconds. So that means from the point where this thing detects a person to the point where you get a notification on your phone is about 10 seconds, which isn't bad, but I do wish it was a little bit quicker. Now I don't know if it's taking longer because it's going through Wi-Fi and not through the base station, because I do have the Homebase 3. I actually just got a notification that this thing can be set up with the Homebase 3. So what I'm going to do after we're done with these tests is I'm going to then hook it up to the Homebase 3 and see if we get a faster alert if it's running through that instead of through the Wi-Fi. I also am assuming most people will be using this thing as a light. So we just saw the footage of what it looked like when I came around the corner with my camera using the light, but this thing does also have night vision. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off the light completely, so there is no light, and we're going to see how this thing does with essentially really no light, maybe a little bit of ambient light coming from the neighbors. So let's give that a shot. So as you can tell now, it is really dark. You can kind of just see the silhouette of my face here. I've turned off all the lights, and I've also turned off the lights that will come on when it detects motion. So now I'm going to walk through my backyard. You can see almost nothing here, but we're going to see if the camera picks up anything and what it picks up and what the video looks like. So let's check it out. You can see over here, if we turn, you can see the little IR LEDs right here on the camera, and hopefully you can also see the footage from the camera in the video. Okay, so now I just went through the process of connecting it into my Homebase 3, and if you're interested in doing that, all you have to click here is this edge connection, and it'll go through the process. You don't have to take anything down, it just does it automatically. So now let's see if that detection time speeds up at all. All right, so we're back in the side yard again. We're gonna come around the corner. We are now entering detection zone, so I've hit the start. And let's see how long it takes to get us a notification now. And it looks like it really didn't change. We're right around the same. So connecting to the home base didn't speed up anything, but what it did do is now that that's connected to my home base, it means all of my footage from that thing is now stored locally, and I like to keep myself local instead of pushing it out onto the cloud. So that's definitely a bonus for me. All right, so it's the next morning. We've got daylight out. You can see we've got some construction going on behind us. That's a whole other video, so if you want to see what's going on there, you're going to want to hit the subscribe button. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to have a video out on it, and if it's already out, I'll have it linked down below. But right now, we're going to test the camera out in daylight. We're going to do kind of the same test. We're going to see if the reaction times are different, and then we're going to zoom in real close and see if you can make out facial, features and whatnot, both under dark and light conditions, so you can know how well this thing is going to work as a security camera for you. So let's get started with the daylight tests. Now the first test we're going to repeat that time test. We're going to set the timer again. I don't expect this to really be any different. It really shouldn't be, but let's get started. So we're going to walk around the corner. I'm in the detection area now, and I've got my timer going. That's my other camera, and there it is. So I actually have two cameras triggering. One of them triggered at about 9 seconds because that one caught me a little bit earlier, and then this one over here caught me at 10 seconds. So we got a 10-second delay, pretty much the same as the night before, but that was pretty much to be expected. So now let's take a look at the quality of the footage that the camera captured. Now this is the footage that was captured with the light turned on, and this camera actually records in 2K video, which means if you need to zoom in on someone's face like this, you'll still get a clear picture. So it actually does a really good job. I have identifiable features in the video, so if you're using this as a security camera with a light on, you can clearly see, you'll be able to make out who the person is and get a good ID on that person if you need to. Now the next video clip I want to look at is the video clip using the IR only. So this is in night vision mode, no lights on, just using the infrared. And on a lot of other cameras in infrared mode, it tends to blow things out. But what I've noticed with this one is it's actually really good. So you could use this thing as a security camera just using the IR and not using the light. Although I suspect you're probably going to be using this with a light on because that's why you bought it. And this last little bit of footage is from the daylight hours, so we don't have the lamp running, and this is usually where I would expect the best results anyway, but we're going to zoom way in on my face here and see how well you can make out my facial features. And again, I'm really impressed with the 2K video. You can zoom way in, still pick up facial features, which means it'll be really easy to identify somebody if you have to on your cameras. So another feature that a lot of people have asked about in my other security camera videos that I tend to forget to do is the speaker and microphone on this. Now, these have a speaker and a microphone, and that way you can talk and communicate back and forth with somebody that's underneath your camera. Now, this could be because there's a person on your porch doing something you don't want, or it could be because you got a neighbor coming over and you want to let them know you're going to be home in 5 minutes. So now let's try that out and see how well it sounds and see how well it responds back. And for the audio playback, you're going to do it through the app again. You fire up the particular camera you want to talk through, and then this little speak button down there, you hold that. So let's go try that out.
This is what my voice sounds like with the volume about halfway up on the microphone and speaker.
And for that microphone test, I had the camera about 5 feet away from the camera, which is how far somebody would be if they were at your front door. Now I moved the camera back into the middle of my yard, so we'll see how well we can hear it from a distance away. Ignore the chipping paint. That's also on my to-do list.
Another test with the camera about 35 feet away from the speaker.
So now that we've tested this thing out, let's go over the pros and the cons of this thing. So we'll do the pros first and then the cons, and you can make a decision if this is the right camera for you. Now for pros, it is a very sleek looking unit, and the installation made it really easy. We didn't have to use the wire nuts. The way they kind of clipped in there was really nice and simple for somebody who's not really familiar with home electrical work. The resolution of the camera is really nice, and that light is bright. In my evening test, I was running the light when it cramped up at under 50%. Full blast, this thing will blind you. So this thing is a very bright light. So if you're using this for security, it's really going to be nice. Other pros, the resolution of it is really good, and because it has that light built in, it does a really good job lighting up what you are having to look at. And because you usually would mount these things about door height, you're going to get a really good view of somebody's face if they do come up to your door. Now the speaker on this thing is one of the better speakers that I've played around with. It sounds really good even when you crank it all the way up. A lot of the other ones get really raspy or they're almost unrecognizable. This thing does a pretty good job with that. I also, when I first installed it, I did not have the option to connect it to my home base, but after the install I got an update in the app that allows me to connect it to my home base. So if you've got a home base 3, you can connect it to that, or if you have no home base, you can connect it straight to the internet. So you have 2 options there. I don't know how much I'm going to use the party modes on the thing with the blue and the red and the flashing lights, but I do have a teenage daughter, and I do have that project over there, so I have a feeling she might wind up using it more than I do. It's kind of a neat thing. I just don't know how much people would actually use that. I do also like that you can change the color temperature of it, because all my other lights back here are more of an amber hue, and if I had the pure white, it would kind of look strange having 2 different color bulbs. So that's another pro. So now let's talk about the cons. And a lot of these cons might not be cons for you. So the first con is that this thing needs constant power. So it does not have a battery. So if your power goes out, these will not continue to record. The other Eufy cameras that I have that have the batteries on board, those will continue to record. So if you want something that'll continue to work in a power outage, I'll have a link down below to my other videos, because they do have other options that'll work when you have no power to your house, and I talk about how to do that in those other videos. Now, Eufy does have another camera in this line that does have a solar panel on top, and I want to get my hands on one of those because that is going to work in some of my other areas where I don't have power. So they kind of already have a solution in the mix for that. Another thing just to consider is the design of it. It is very tall, so with it being tall and coming high off where your junction box is, you could wind up in a situation where you don't have the clearance in where you're putting it. So measure everything out before you buy one of these, if that's something that might be a consideration for your house. And then the final con is that lag, that 10-second lag that we experience. And that could also be my internet connection, because my internet connection is so-so. But 10 seconds, it's not a long time, or it is a long time, depending upon what you're using the camera for. If you want to know immediately when somebody's at your door, this thing will give you a little bit of a lag. However, if you have a situation like this where somebody's got to come around the corner, by the time they make it to my door, I know about it because it's popped up on my phone. So all in all, I really like this camera. I think I'm going to put the other one, because I want to buy 2 of them, I'm going to put the other one up by my front door. So I'll have one in the front and one in the back, matching cameras. Now, if this is the camera for you, I will have a link for it down in the description below, so you can pick one up for yourself. If it's not the camera for you, I have a link to a lot of other cameras that have different features: batteries, no batteries, internet connection, hub connection, stuff like that. So if this is not the camera for you, I will have a link for all that stuff down below as well, so you can check out my videos. Hopefully you can find a security solution for your house that works. Now, if this video did help you out, please give it a great big thumbs up. I always appreciate the support. It really helps out the channel. Hit that subscribe button if you want to find out what that thing's all about. And of course, thanks for watching.